Hi there, Cosmic Family. My name is Elial. I am here today to talk about the energies of the next week from April 6th until April 12th. We have only two transits to mention this week, but this doesn't mean that it's going to be a period of calm. I am not referring to the inner peace that we can choose to learn to cultivate. But we are going to have a great charge of planets in Aries and in a way that we haven't experimented before, because Neptune is in this sign for the first time in 160 years, and Saturn after 29 years. So we have a reactivation of the conjunction that they made in February. And the one that is going to make a contact with them, it is precisely the ruler of this sign, the ruler of Aries, Mars. And when we talk about this sign, this invoke impulse, this initiator energy, action, decision, determination to move forward. The thing is, which is the motivation that we could express through this martial force, the intentions through which we are deciding to take a specific direction, because those intentions are going to have a manifestation. But let's start by April 8th, where Mars is still in Pisces and is going to perfect a sextile with Uranus in Taurus. This is active since the last week, actually, and every contact with Uranus is also very important because it is moving out from Taurus. Everyone that is investigating the astrological language, we know that when a planet is moving out, the manifestations that has symbolize the closure of the cycle of in this sign. In this case, the cycle is of 7 years. So a sextile is a harmonic aspect. Therefore, Mars, which is going to be in the degree 29 of Pisces, a degree of mastery and integration of what needs to be dissolved, or of what needs to come to an end so we can generate changes, Uranus, that are going to be the bridge of opportunity for the next cycle, are showing themselves. So everything is going to depend on where you have the last degrees of Pisces and Taurus, but Mars has the function of, in our natal chart, of generate direction, of deciding to move forward. Could be that this advancement for some people is involving an assimilation that is more linked with the emotional level. A process of detachment of experiences that you already let go of, but we need to integrate in every level. I remind you that when we allow ourselves to go through the emotions that could emerge, it is when truly the insights are emerging, and we allow that our consciousness can raise too. A sextile could make it easier, if we choose to do so, that we can take that path, that we can act in coherence what we feel and intuitively know that we have to do. For other people, this is clearly letting go of an old form of stability that is not stable anymore, of course. On the contrary, it is turning us off, it is remaining us in an automatic pilot, so we can open to something new. And even if this can produce certain level of uncertainty, it is also a sextile, an aspect that helps us to move through the resistances, beyond the resistances. We could also talk about creative ideas for projects that we can materialize, this is Taurus, or insights that we access in connection with ourselves that could help us to project the future, which is also Uranus, with a higher look of the present situations, perhaps understanding how areas of our life are connected, and that changing one area could impact the other, or how experiences in the last 7 years brought us to this point. This means understanding the higher purpose, even, with those changes that the identity is not choosing, but the soul and the life are doing so, and using this kind of perceptions as an impulse to walk forth. The next day, on April 9th, Mars enters Aries, but the sextile continues to be on track even the next week, even if Mars is in another sign. And as I told you, I didn't tell you, but Mars is going to be united with Neptune and Saturn also next week. But we are going to feel this from the beginning, from the moment that Mars enters Aries. And this is part of the seal also of the new moon in Aries that we are going to expand later. But as I was saying, it is going to have a great charge of planets in a same sign. And when an energy is exacerbated, it could manifest in a very powerful way aspects that perhaps are positive from Aries, but also the ones that respond to the shadow, to the unconscious, both in the collective and in the individuals. Also, on April 8th, the moon is going to enter Capricorn, and it is going to create tensions with everybody in Aries, Neptune, Saturn, the Sun, Chiron, and with Jupiter in Cancer. So this could put in evidence certain aspects that are in conflict. And the thing in here is how we are going to deal with those things. So Mars in Aries is in its domicile of fire. Here, there is this revitalization of the energy, because the transit of Pisces, for many people, it didn't feel this way. Because precisely Mars in Pisces, it is about more understanding when we need to not take action, or which actions are truly related with the voice of our soul, what kind of endings are necessary to approach so we can, approach new or start new beginnings. When we are acting from this true empathy or comprehension towards the other, and when we are appropriating of problems or emotions of other people, to not put attention to things that are linked with our experience, what is an escapism and what is truly aligned with our inner self to do. But with Mars in Aries, you could experiment the sensation that there is more movement. Even some situations could be accelerated, or we could feel with a lot of energy. Here we could experiment very clear beginnings, opportunities that are creating this openness to something new and probably unknown, not transited, at least for oneself before. And in the entrance, we are experimenting this contact with Neptune and Saturn. It is a key to recognize intention and motivation. A good question that we could do, in the contact with Neptune, it is, am I doing this because I want to escape from my reality, or am I doing this because this truly responds to a sense, because there is an intuition guiding my decisions? Make this discernment between directions that could really be constructive, from the ones that are actually a self-deceit, because what reality is showing, we don't like that, and in the lack of acceptance, we are trying to deny that. Anger is going to be the emotion precisely that gives the information of which kind of imbalances could be manifesting. In some cases, there could be this tendency to act without thinking anything, which is the shadow of Aries, to react without measuring the consequences, to defend or attack, assuming that everything is personal, in this excessive centralization of the I, putting the identity as the most important part without considering what could truly be beneficial in a situation. And in the contact with Saturn, there comes the lesson of maturity that could cause frustration, that could be also painful, or that puts this stop so we can observe in which way we are choosing to walk. Or how this excessive anxiety to move forward towards our objectives, our goals, is paradoxically creating obstacles, or creating the perception that anything is moving and that we are that we are facing obstacles that perhaps are not. It is just only the sensation that things are going slower than we want. For others, it is the contrary polarity. I am referring that perhaps there is something that they have to do with courage and determination that they have to begin, and you could feel this as an experience that is challenging you in a certain way, or that is facing you with a fear over your own capacities or forms of assuming the leadership of your lives. And if there is resistance to go through that direction, you could experiment this irritability, this anger that is marking that you cannot stop anymore the course of destiny, or external circumstances that are going to put the pressure with these Aryan characteristics, provocations, conflict, invasive people that are not respecting boundaries. And this is not, of course, to justify anything. So it is only to observe those things so we can understand how we need to circulate our inner strength, our inner force, and in what lead us to construct the path, or to put boundaries in what is not constructive. In the collective level, well, this could increase conflicts. This is not the best thing to say, but we have to be realistic, and there is still a great individual labor, that we have to do to see in the collective different manifestations. People could act only thinking in their personal interests, ideologies, religious beliefs, and not considering if they are really truly contributing something with their actions. And of course, there could be cases that those people don't care because the ego is totally in this state of unconsciousness and taking control of what the only thing that they care is to win and to impose themselves. But that also has, sooner or later its consequences. So the important thing here is to center ourselves in what is being expressed through us, and to make that labor that many times it is challenging. So I'm going to end this video here. Thank you, everyone. See you in the next one. Ciao, ciao.